Well, hello there. We are entering into a new phase with the class. As you know, we are going to be concerned about critiquing work, um, and that means really seeing the work well. Drawings are made to be seen in person. They're really not intended to be seen online. One of the reasons why we make drawings and paintings and other two-dimensional works of art that are meant to be seen in person is that we can experience the materials, we can experience a lot of detail in the work, we can experience the scale of the work in relationship to our bodies. And so looking at work online, we miss out on a lot of that kind of stuff. But out of necessity, because of this pandemic, um, we have to work online. And that being the case, it's going to be best if we can take good quality pictures of the work so that we can see the work more clearly. The first thing that we really need to be concerned about is the light. The light, of course, should be bright enough that we can see the work clearly. It needs to come from a direction that's not going to create glare. And the color of the light actually has an impact on the work as well. You can see here my setup in my studio. Um, I have the artwork on an easel. I have a nice big window allowing north light to come in. North light actually is a very cool type of light. As you can see here on the windowsill, that the light actually looks very blue. Now the reason this being the case in the northern hemisphere, if your windows are on the north side of the building, the sunlight is never going to come directly in through the window. The light is going to come from the blue sky. And so with north-facing windows especially, the light that's coming in is going to be very, very blue. If we compare that to light sources that we buy at the store that are either neutral in color or warmer, like incandescent bulbs, and the bulbs we're looking at here are actually LED bulbs that are neutral. They're not actually warm, but you can see how much warmth comes from a neutral colored bulb. Incandescent bulbs are even warmer. And so here we're looking at the artwork um, under warm light, and we're going to compare it to the artwork shot with a combination of the warmer light coming from the room and the cool light coming from the window, which is really kind of the best possible way to illuminate your work. If you have access to natural light coming in through the window and you have some warmer lights in the room, that can help to balance the color of the light. Or you might have light bulbs that are more color balanced. Or you might need to adjust the white balance um, of your photographs once they are photographed in your editing software on your phone, or you might even be able to adjust the white balance while you're shooting. So what you're looking at here is an image of the drawing photographed with cool light coming from the left and warm light coming from the right. You might even be able to see here that the paper looks a little bit cooler on this side and a little bit warmer on this side. And so this is really not the best photograph, but it's definitely good enough that we can get a good sense of the color. You'll notice actually in the grays in the background here and in the whites, as well as in the color of the warm paper, that they're all going to sort of reveal the color of the light. So here I have a split image. Here I have a split image sort of comparing the two photographs that we just looked at side by side, and you can see how significant the difference is. In the image that is more balanced in color, we can feel the relationships between the cooler colors and the warmer colors much more clearly. In the photograph that's shot with the warmer light sources, there's a sort of unity to the coloring, but it's not really true to nature. It's not really true to what we're seeing with the human eye. This whole thing is sort of pronounced, especially when we're photographing on white paper. So we're looking at an image here of a simple ink wash drawing of a still life. And here we can see that same picture shot in cooler light. You can tell that the light in this case is a bit more balanced. And so with this one, I shot it with just the window light, but I also adjusted the white balance after having shot it so that the colors of the white looked more natural. And here you can see a combination of the two images that you just looked at. The one on the left is the first one, and the one on the right is the second one. Now, you might be thinking that if you just uh, desaturate the photo, that would help with like a black and white image like this. But as you can see here, there's actually color to the materials that we use. I've desaturated it here, and we'll look at a comparison. And so the image on the left portion of the image is the actual photograph in well-adjusted color. This is actually the kind of color of the ink on the paper, and here we have the image desaturated. And so you can see it's better to try to capture the color, even if it's something that's gray, it probably is going to have some color to it. And then here we see the image. Here we see the image again. Now, the next thing that we have to be concerned with is filling the frame with our picture, which will probably mean cropping it. But it's also very important that we get it as square as possible so that when we crop it, we're not cropping off a lot of the picture. What you're looking at here is the drawing before I taped it down to the board. That's another thing that's very important is, we want to get the drawings flat. A drawing that is sort of curling up when the page is not perfectly flat is very difficult to photograph because it gives us this sort of strange pin cushion sort of effect. And here we see the drawing. Just essentially all I did was I taped the four corners down behind. I just rolled up the tape and taped it down on the back of the paper to flatten it out. So here we're looking at some images of drawings shot from different angles. Now some of them are more severe. When you're shooting it, to get it perfect, it takes a little bit of moving the camera around. So you can put it on a tripod if you have one, and that'll help. But even if it's just handheld, stand in front of the drawing directly and then look at the viewfinder and sort of shift a little bit around, a little left, a little right, a little up, a little down, until you kind of can feel that the edges of the drawing are lining up, in a sense, with the edges of the viewfinder. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to get it as close as possible to this edge, this negative shapes should sort of feel, all of the negative shapes all the way around should sort of feel like they don't have a trapezoidal sort of shape, but that they all feel like rectilinear types of shapes. And if you can do that, then and it takes a little practice to get it perfect, but even then, it's probably not going to be exactly perfect. So when you go to crop it, you'll probably be cropping a little bit of the drawing, and that's okay. We want the final image to essentially just be the drawing. We want to try to get rid of anything that's not in the drawing. It's like if we were presenting the drawing in a gallery, we would want to be careful that we're presenting it in the best possible way. And so not only do we want to crop the drawing, and of course if you're emailing or texting an image that's been cropped all the way, you won't have colors on the side, like in the presentation here we have these sort of gray background because of the format of the screen. So by changing the color of that background, all we really are going to see now is the drawing. The last thing that we really have to be concerned about is adjusting the values in the drawings themselves. So here I have a black paper drawing, and I photographed it, squared it up, got the light just right, and then photographed it. But the values of the paper didn't really appear black, and the rest of the values didn't appear quite right. And so I had to make adjustments in the software, editing software on the phone after shooting it. And so here's an image of the same drawing with the values adjusted. Here's an image of those two drawings cropped side by side. Same drawings, but just sort of reversing so you can kind of see side by side in reverse that the one on the left is lighter. I mean, you can really see if you compare the dark area right here, how much darker the darks are. That's really the main issue here is getting the darks and for this dark paper to be dark enough. And here you can compare them side by side. So it makes a difference. Thank you very much. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I look forward to seeing your drawings. I'm sure they're going to look just beautiful. Okay, bye-bye.